The darkest way to handle disrespect. Machiavelli. Disrespect is not just an insult. It is a declaration of war. When someone disrespects you, they are testing your boundaries, weighing your worth, and measuring how far they can go before you fight back. Most people don't understand this. They respond with emotions, with anger, with explanations, thinking they can reason with those who already decided to disregard them. But Machiavelli would tell you, reason is useless when you've already lost authority. Respect is not demanded through words. It is taken through power. The darkest way to handle disrespect is not by confrontation, but by control. By learning to strike without being seen, to dominate without shouting, and to punish without leaving fingerprints. The world doesn't reward kindness. It rewards strength disguised as calm. It doesn't honor fairness. It honors fear dressed as respect. Every time you try to prove yourself to those who doubt you, you lower your value in their eyes, because power never explains itself. It simply acts and lets silence become its echo. Machiavelli understood this long before psychology gave it a name. He knew that human nature is ruled by perception, not truth. The weak seek to be loved. The strong make others afraid to lose them. That is the first rule of power. You do not ask for respect. You become someone too dangerous to disrespect. You see, when people show you disrespect, they are revealing a truth. They no longer see consequences in you. The Machiavellian way is to quietly restore those consequences, not through rage, but through strategy. To turn every insult into an investment, to let their arrogance expose their weakness while you learn, observe, and wait. Patience in the hands of a strategist is deadlier than anger in the hands of a fool. This video is not about forgiveness. It is not about pretending to be above it. It is about the art of dominance through self-control, the kind of control that makes others uneasy without you saying a word. The darkest form of revenge is to make them irrelevant, to rise so far above their perception that your success becomes their silent punishment. Stay until the end, because what I'm about to reveal are not theories. They are survival principles in a world that confuses respect with approval. What you'll discover is the hidden code Machiavelli embedded within human behavior. How to manipulate the image of power so deeply that others begin to respect you even in your absence. Before we begin, I want you to write in the comments, "Power needs no explanation," because that phrase, simple yet absolute, will become your mantra as you listen. It will remind you that your silence can wound more than their words. So breathe. Listen closely, because from this point on, you will never react to disrespect the same way again. You will not fight for validation. You will learn to control perception. And that, as Machiavelli would say, is where true authority begins. Machiavelli lived in a world where respect was not a moral concept, but a weapon of survival. Renaissance Italy was a stage of power plays, betrayals, and shifting alliances. A world where appearance meant everything and weakness invited death. In such an environment, Niccolò Machiavelli learned that those who wished to be respected had to master not kindness but perception. The fragile learned humility. The powerful learned control. He wrote The Prince not as a manual for cruelty, but as a mirror to human nature, a nature that values dominance more than virtue. His words were not an invitation to evil, but a warning to the naive. Those who believe people will treat them fairly will be devoured by those who understand how people truly are. Philosophically, Machiavelli shattered the illusion that morality alone could maintain order. He separated ethics from politics, emotions from results. He showed that respect is rarely born from goodness. It is born from the fear of losing something valuable. Even the kindest leader must inspire a certain level of unease or risk being ignored. Behind every great ruler or successful mind lies a balance between benevolence and intimidation, a paradox that modern society refuses to accept. We are told to be nice, to forgive, to turn the other cheek. Yet in every workplace, in every relationship, in every social circle, people instinctively bow to those who project authority. That's the contradiction Machiavelli saw centuries ago. Human beings admire virtue, but they obey power. Psychologically, disrespect wounds because it challenges identity. The ego interprets it as rejection, a fracture in the image we hold of ourselves. Most people react impulsively to restore that image, shouting, explaining, or withdrawing. But Machiavelli would see this reaction as weakness. To him, control over emotion is control over perception. The one who stays composed when insulted becomes unpredictable, and unpredictability breeds caution. In psychological terms, this is the law of dominance. Those who can manage their response control the emotional rhythm of others. Over time, the world forgot this wisdom. Modern culture glorified empathy without boundaries. forgiveness without discernment, and humility without strength. The result? A generation that mistakes submission for peace and weakness for goodness. But Machiavelli's writings whisper a darker truth. Respect built on morality alone collapses in the face of manipulation. Only respect built on consequence endures. To understand this is to reclaim an ancient kind of intelligence, the intelligence of power. Because every insult you receive is a message from the universe asking, have you built enough consequence around your presence? We will now go deeper into the precise mechanics of how Machiavelli handled disrespect not through reaction, but through psychological warfare. These are the unspoken laws of control that still govern human behavior today. Disrespect is the modern form of warfare. It's subtle, psychological, and often invisible. It doesn't come from enemies on battlefields, but from co-workers, friends, family, or strangers who test your limits with small acts of disregard. Machiavelli would tell you that these small gestures are never random. They are reconnaissance. Before people attack you openly, they measure how you react to small humiliations. Every eye roll, every dismissive tone, every ignored message. These are the scouts of larger betrayals to come. If you let them pass, you teach the world how to treat you. But here lies the paradox. Those who respond too quickly to disrespect expose themselves. Anger reveals insecurity. Reaction confirms weakness. The true Machiavellian response is not to react, but to calculate. Machiavelli said that power belongs to those who appear unmoved. Because once your emotions are visible, you have handed over your strategy. He understood that control is the ultimate form of intimidation. The calm man in the room makes others uneasy because his silence forces them to question what he's thinking, what he's planning, and when he will strike. This uncertainty becomes his armor. The first law: never respond to disrespect immediately. Every insult is bait. Its purpose is not to hurt you. It's to expose your self-control. When someone disrespects you, pause. Not out of fear, but out of power. Delay your reaction. Let silence do the talking. The human mind cannot bear uncertainty. When they see you remain calm, they start to overthink. They replay their words, question your silence, wonder if they went too far. You've shifted the power dynamic without saying a word. Remember, hesitation is your enemy when you're weak, but your weapon when you're strong. The second law: never explain yourself to those who disrespect you. Explanations are for equals. You do not owe logic to those who deny your worth. Machiavelli believed that the moment you justify yourself, you place yourself below the other person. When you explain, you beg for understanding. When you stay silent, you demand respect. In politics and in life, perception is everything. The one who appears sure of his path doesn't need validation. So the next time someone mocks your choices or questions your value, don't defend. Affirm. State your truth as a fact, not a request. That's what I decided. That's how I do it. That's enough. And then withdraw. They will feel the invisible wall of your certainty, and that wall is what commands respect. The third law: learn to reward disrespect with distance. You don't punish the disrespectful with arguments. You punish them by removal. Machiavelli knew that punishment isn't always visible. Sometimes it's simply the absence of access. When you withdraw your presence, your energy, your availability, you create scarcity. And scarcity creates value. People often realize the weight of your silence only when it replaces your attention. To handle disrespect, therefore, is not to fight. It is to subtract. Leave them with the echo of your absence. Let them speak to a void that doesn't answer back. The fourth law: rebuild the image of power, not emotion. Most people try to heal disrespect emotionally. They talk about it, seek comfort, or look for justice. But Machiavelli would say that justice is a luxury. Image is survival. The goal is not to feel better, but to restore your perception of strength. This means you must act in a way that reestablishes dominance. Improve your posture, your work, your results, your appearance, your composure. Nothing silences gossip more effectively than undeniable proof of elevation. You don't win through confrontation. You win by becoming untouchable. When you improve silently, you turn every disrespectful remark into prophecy fulfilled. Because the more they doubted you, the more powerful your rise appears. The fifth law: always control the retaliation timeline. Machiavelli warned that revenge taken too soon is foolish. It satisfies emotion but destroys strategy. True power is patient. When you delay response, your punishment gains precision. You wait until the disrespectful one becomes dependent on your goodwill, until they lower their guard, thinking you've forgotten. Then quietly, decisively, you remove your support, your praise, or your help. You let the consequences speak where your anger once wanted to shout. This method is not cruelty. It is education. It teaches others that disrespect carries a cost, even if it comes long after the act. The longer the delay, the deeper the lesson. Pause for a moment and ask yourself this. How often have you been disrespected simply because you reacted too soon or explained too much? You see, power is not about dominating others externally. It's about mastering your own timing internally. Disrespect tests that timing. Every provocation is an invitation to prove your control. The Machiavellian way is not emotional resistance. It's emotional strategy. Now let's go deeper. Because beyond these visible laws lies the darker layer, the manipulation of perception itself. Machiavelli didn't just teach how to defend against disrespect. He taught how to turn it into influence. The ability to use the enemy's attack as a stepping stone to greater authority. To do this, you must understand one truth. Disrespect reveals hierarchy. People disrespect downward, never upward. So when someone disrespects you, they subconsciously see themselves above you. Your goal, therefore, is not to argue. It's to reverse that perception silently. Machiavelli's genius was to make enemies reveal their arrogance and then let that arrogance destroy them. In politics, he watched nobles who insulted the wrong men. And years later, those same nobles found their power stripped by the very people they mocked. Why? Because the quiet ones observed, they remembered, and they waited. The same principle applies in modern life. In the office, when someone publicly mocks you, don't retaliate. Perform. Do your work with such excellence that your results corner them into silence. In relationships, when someone belittles your effort, don't argue. Disappear. Let your absence become the mirror that shows them what they've lost. In social circles, when people doubt your capacity, don't defend, succeed. Success, Machiavelli would say, is the most sophisticated revenge. It rewrites history without needing confrontation. But there is a deeper tactic still, one so dark that few dare use it, turning disrespect into dependence. Instead of fighting those who disrespect you, find a way to make them need you. Make their pride depend on your presence, your knowledge, or your influence. Let them taste the discomfort of knowing that the one they underestimated now holds their stability in his hands. This is not cruelty, yet it is balance. You restore respect by restoring consequence. When they must come to you for help, you don't humiliate them. You stay calm, professional, detached, and in that moment you've inverted the hierarchy forever. Machiavelli once said, "Men must either be caressed or annihilated." To him, half measures were dangerous. When you punish, it must be absolute. When you forgive, it must be strategic. Never let disrespect linger unresolved, but never resolve it emotionally. You either turn the enemy into an ally through calculated advantage, or you remove their power altogether. Anything in between invites confusion, and confusion breeds further disrespect. Let's summarize this first descent into darkness. Disrespect is not about words, it's about perception. To handle it, the Machiavellian way means to observe before reacting, withdraw before explaining, improve before confronting, wait before striking, win before they even realize the game began. This is how kings ruled, how leaders survived, and how the truly dangerous never needed to shout. Because respect is not about being liked, it's about being feared in silence. Now, before we move to the next part, I want you to reflect on this and comment below. My silence will become my power. Because when you truly understand this, you'll realize that the ability to stay calm while others provoke you is not weakness. It's the highest form of dominance. Disrespect hurts because it touches the illusion of identity. We want to believe we are seen, valued, understood. But when someone disrespects you, they tear a hole in that image. And in that instant, your ego rushes to defend itself. This is where most people lose the war before it begins. Machiavelli knew this well. Whoever controls your emotions controls you. He observed that rulers were not destroyed by their enemies, but by their own reactions to provocation. The strong fall when they take insults personally. The wise rise when they use insults as information. To handle disrespect the Machiavellian way, you must first kill the illusion that people owe you respect. No one owes you anything. Respect is not a right, it's a result. It comes from power, not personality. This realization frees you. Because when you stop expecting respect, you stop being reactive. You no longer bleed at every verbal wound. You become untouchable. And that is the beginning of true control. The sixth law. Dissect the psychology of the disrespectful. Never interpret an insult at face value. Every act of disrespect hides fear, envy, or insecurity. People project their frustration onto those who remind them of what they lack. The colleague who mocks you secretly feels threatened. The friend who belittles you is jealous of your discipline. The partner who ignores you fears your independence. When you see through this lens, disrespect becomes a mirror, not a wound. Instead of reacting, you observe. You study the weakness behind the behavior. And once you understand what drives them, you own the battlefield, because you can now predict their moves before they make them. The seventh law: use the echo of silence as psychological punishment. Humans crave closure. They need emotional responses to feel secure in their dominance. When you remain silent, you deny them that closure. Machiavelli would have admired this tactic because silence destabilizes the mind of your opponent. They expected anger, they receive calm. They expected pain, they see indifference. This contradiction unsettles them. They start to seek your attention again, not to attack but to restore their own balance. You've inverted the power dynamic. What began as disrespect ends with them chasing the validation they once denied you. Silence is not passive. It's a weaponized form of self-control. The eighth law: never seek equal revenge. Seek psychological superiority. Revenge fueled by emotion makes you a slave to the offender. Revenge fueled by calculation makes you their master. Machiavelli taught that punishment should never come from rage, but from reason. If someone disrespects you publicly, do not stoop to their level. Elevate the arena. Outperform them, outthink them, outlast them. Let time become your ally. The satisfaction of watching your success eclipse their disrespect will be worth infinitely more than a momentary confrontation. Your dignity must always outlive their insult. That is the Machiavellian code. The ninth law: never overexpose your dignity. Machiavelli warned that visibility invites vulnerability. The more accessible you are, the easier it is for others to test your boundaries. A wise ruler keeps distance, not coldness but controlled access. In today's world, this means being selective with your energy. Don't let everyone know your thoughts, your plans, or your pain. The less they know, the less they can use against you. Disrespect often thrives on familiarity. When people think they know you too well, they stop fearing you. Rebuild mystery. Let others wonder what's behind your calm smile, because mystery commands curiosity and curiosity breeds respect. The 10th law: transform disrespect into power through redirection. There is one thing every strategist must learn. Energy can't be destroyed, only redirected. When you receive disrespect, you absorb that energy, but you must never internalize it. Redirect it into ambition, discipline, or growth. Every time someone doubts you, use it as emotional fuel to outwork, outlearn, and outshine them. Machiavelli would call this turning insult into ammunition. The greatest revenge is to become the living contradiction of their expectations. You don't argue with the disrespectful. You bury them under your progress. Pause here and think, who has disrespected you recently? Who has tested your silence, your worth, your limits? Now imagine using every ounce of that energy not to prove them wrong, but to evolve so far that they no longer exist in your frame of relevance. That is Machiavellian mastery. But to reach this level, you must confront the enemy within, the ego. The ego wants justice, recognition, revenge. It thrives on proving points. Yet Machiavelli's dark brilliance lies in understanding that justice is never personal. It's political. Your goal is not to be understood. Your goal is to be remembered, to be respected, even by those who never liked you. And to achieve that, you must sacrifice your need to be seen as good. The 11th law: abandon the morality of weakness. Most people confuse morality with passivity. They think being good means avoiding conflict. But Machiavelli saw this as naivety. He believed that goodness without strength is meaningless. True virtue requires the ability to punish and the wisdom to choose not to. Forgiveness is only powerful when you have the means to destroy. Anything less is submission. So stop apologizing for your boundaries. Stop softening your words to protect fragile egos. The world respects clarity, not compromise. The 12th law: practice strategic forgiveness. Forgiveness, in its purest Machiavellian form, is not kindness, it's calculation. You forgive when it benefits you, when it creates leverage, when it makes your enemy comfortable enough to reveal their next mistake. Strategic forgiveness confuses the disrespectful. They expect retaliation, but you respond with calm grace. This makes them believe they've won. That belief becomes the rope they hang themselves with. Because when they least expect it, their overconfidence exposes their vulnerability. To forgive strategically is to lure the enemy into lowering their guard while you remain aware, observant, and in control. The 13th law: destroy the emotional supply chain. Every relationship of disrespect relies on a hidden exchange of energy. The offender gets satisfaction from your reaction. They feed on your pain, your frustration, your explanations. Cut the supply. Starve their ego by becoming emotionally unreachable. When they realize they can no longer affect you, their power collapses. This is how kings disarm traitors without lifting a sword. They deny them relevance. You too can do this by learning emotional minimalism, responding less, revealing nothing, and replacing reaction with reflection. The 14th law: replace retaliation with legacy. Machiavelli understood that time erases all insults but amplifies legacy. You cannot control how people treat you, but you can control what you build in response. Every act of disrespect is temporary. Every act of creation is eternal. So build something they can't ignore. A career, a reputation, a presence so monumental that their disrespect becomes a forgotten whisper in the shadow of your achievements. The darkest way to handle disrespect is not to destroy your enemies, is to outlive them in significance. The 15th law: master the art of psychological detachment. To stay powerful, you must detach from the need for validation. Detachment is not indifference, it's discipline. It's the ability to choose your focus deliberately. Machiavelli would tell you that the truly strong don't suppress emotion, they redirect it. You can feel anger, but you express it through excellence. You can feel disappointment, but you convert it into focus. You can feel betrayal, but you transmute it into wisdom. Detachment allows you to remain dangerous in silence. Because when no one can predict your emotional state, they can never predict your next move. And that unpredictability is the ultimate currency of respect. You see, the greatest paradox of Machiavellian thought is this: the one who appears cold is often the most self-aware. The one who stays silent is often the most strategic. Silence, calmness, and restraint are not signs of fear. They are the signatures of calculated dominance. Before we move forward, I want you to comment these words: my peace is my weapon. Because once you master that mindset, no disrespect will ever touch your core again. You will stop reacting like prey and start operating like a strategist. In the next section, we'll move from theory to transformation. I'll show you how to apply these Machiavellian principles in your daily life, in your conversations, your relationships, your career, not to become cruel, but to become untouchable. Machiavelli never taught philosophy as theory. He taught survival as art. His wisdom was forged in the fire of political chaos, betrayal, and manipulation. But these principles are not confined to palaces or empires. They live in your daily life, in your workplace, your relationships, your interactions. To handle disrespect the Machiavellian way means learning how to move like water, adaptable, silent, and unstoppable. Let's turn his dark insights into practical methods that make you unshakable. When you are disrespected, your first instinct will always be to defend. That instinct is emotional, not strategic. The Machiavellian approach begins with observation. Before you respond, you analyze. You ask yourself 3 silent questions. What is the intention behind this disrespect? What weakness in them does it reveal? And what opportunity in me does it create? Most people react to the surface, the words, the tone, the insult. But the strategist looks deeper. Every act of disrespect is data. It tells you who is insecure, who is testing boundaries, who is revealing envy. To master this art, you must become an observer of human nature, not a victim of it. Step 1. The ritual of the pause. Train yourself to wait before speaking. When provoked, take a slow breath and imagine your words as arrows. Once released, they cannot return. Machiavelli would say, the one who controls the rhythm of reaction controls the outcome. That means when someone disrespects you, they expect immediacy. They want you to lose composure. Your delay breaks that pattern. Count to 10 if you must. Watch their expression. The longer you stay composed, the more power shifts toward you. Your calmness will begin to feel like dominance. Step 2. Emotional minimalism. Speak less, reveal less. Feel everything but display nothing. The Machiavellian way is not suppression. It is selective expression. You do not give emotional access to those who haven't earned it. When someone disrespects you publicly, answer with a calm phrase like "noted" or "we'll see." These words are disarming because they lack reaction. They force others to interpret your silence, and interpretation breeds fear. Emotional minimalism creates psychological distance, the space where authority lives. Step 3. The mirror technique. Use people's own energy against them. When someone mocks or undermines you, don't argue. Reflect their tone back calmly. If they use sarcasm, respond with measured politeness. If they try to embarrass you, ask a clarifying question that exposes their insecurity. Why does that bother you so much? Or, interesting perspective. Why do you feel the need to say that? You are not confronting. You are exposing. This is what Machiavelli called using their weapons against themselves. It turns every attack into a self-reveal. Step 4. Strategic withdrawal. Silence is not avoidance. It is repositioning. When you remove yourself from disrespectful spaces, whether a conversation, a friendship, or a job, you reclaim control. But don't announce your exit. Simply vanish from the environment. When people ask why you're distant, answer with calm neutrality. I prefer peace. The simplicity of that statement unsettles them, because they expected anger. They received elevation. Distance turns you from a participant into a legend. People respect what they can no longer reach. Step 5. Controlled confrontation. Not every situation can be handled through silence. Some require direct correction. But even here, Machiavelli teaches precision over emotion. When you confront, do it privately. Speak slowly, without aggression. Use power language. Short, decisive sentences that leave no room for argument. This won't happen again. I expect a different tone next time. That was inappropriate. Do not explain. Declare. The purpose of confrontation is not to vent, but to reset hierarchy. Always end it with calm confidence. The more composed you are, the more they will remember your power, not your anger. Now, let's explore Machiavelli's method for social and professional context, because disrespect takes different forms depending on the arena. In the workplace, disrespect at work often hides behind subtle gestures. Exclusion, sarcasm, dismissive comments. Never fight these openly. You'll look emotional. Instead, weaponize competence. Excel so profoundly that your performance becomes irrefutable. Use results as retaliation. Machiavelli believed that reputation is the currency of survival, so polish it relentlessly. Avoid gossip. Stay quiet about your progress, and let your achievements create whispers you never need to start. When you deliver results, even your enemies must kneel to your capability. Remember, in professional power games, visibility is vulnerability, but excellence is invincibility. In relationships, personal disrespect cuts deeper because emotions blur boundaries, but the same laws apply. When someone belittles you or disrespects your time, never argue for value. Remove access. Silence is not rejection, it's education. When you stop chasing validation, they feel the vacuum of your energy. Most will try to provoke reaction to feel control again. Don't give it. Continue your life as if untouched. Focus on your growth, your peace, your evolution. Machiavelli would call this strategic disappearance, the art of punishing not through anger, but through absence. The greatest lesson you can teach someone who disrespects your worth is how your absence feels heavier than your presence. In social dynamics, friends, family, or communities often test your dignity unconsciously. Don't let familiarity breed contempt. Keep your boundaries visible and your emotions private. Speak with precision, never over-explain. If someone jokes at your expense repeatedly, meet it with quiet confidence. I'll let you have that one. It signals awareness, control, and detachment. The Machiavellian mind never fights for validation in groups. It commands presence through self-possession. Remember, confidence is quiet. Insecurity performs. Step 6. Build an order of consequence. Respect is not demanded. It's conditioned. You must train people to associate your presence with seriousness. Be consistent in your standards. If you say no, mean it. If you set a boundary, enforce it. Machiavelli warned that inconsistency weakens authority. People only respect what they fear to lose. Therefore, your greatest weapon is reliability. Not emotional chaos, but calm predictability in principle. Once people know that disrespect always leads to a loss of access, your name alone will carry weight. Step 7. The power of strategic ignorance. Not every insult deserves attention. Some people seek validation through conflict. They feel alive when they provoke. Deprive them of that oxygen. Pretend not to notice the slight. Act as though it's beneath your awareness. This is psychological superiority disguised as grace. When they realize their actions cannot reach you, they will shrink in your shadow. Ignoring with dignity is more frightening than any argument. Machiavelli called it the art of appearing above insult. Step 8. Create a fortress of inner power. To become unshakable externally, you must be disciplined internally. Begin your mornings with silence. No phone, no noise. Reflect on your priorities, visualize your strength. Machiavelli believed the mind of a ruler must be fortified like a city, built daily through discipline. Develop habits that make you resilient. Cold showers, meditation, journaling, solitude. These rituals strengthen your inner kingdom. Because when your mind is stable, no disrespect can penetrate it. Step 9. Master the long game of revenge through excellence. Machiavelli wrote that time erases all insults, but he also knew that time amplifies those who rise. Your greatest revenge against disrespect is to become undeniable. Work when others doubt. Improve when others gossip. Build quietly until your existence itself invalidates every disrespectful word ever spoken about you. One day, your success will stand as silent testimony, not to your ego but to your evolution. That is the ultimate Machiavellian victory. Not to destroy your enemies, but to make their disrespect irrelevant in the face of your greatness. Step 10. The final ritual, the reflection of power. Each night, review your day as a strategist, not a victim. Ask, where did I lose control? Where did I maintain it? Power is a skill refined through awareness. Every incident of disrespect becomes a lesson. Did you pause or react? Did you protect your energy or waste it? Machiavelli would tell you that control is not achieved once. It is trained daily. The goal is not perfection, it's mastery. To reach a point where your silence carries the authority of 1,000 words and your calm gaze commands more respect than any argument ever could. In the end, the Machiavellian way is not about cruelty, it's about clarity. It's understanding that you cannot force people to respect you, but you can become someone impossible to disrespect. That is the difference between power and pride. Pride shouts, power whispers. Pride needs recognition. Power creates its own gravity. Remember this always. Every time you stay composed while others lose control, you rise higher in the hierarchy of perception. You become what Machiavelli admired most, the invisible ruler, the one whose presence alone changes the behavior of others. Now pause this moment, reflect on what you've learned, and write this in the comments. I do not seek respect, I create it. Because from now on, disrespect will no longer trigger you. It will train you. It will refine your strength, sharpen your awareness, and awaken the strategist within you. In the end, the way you handle disrespect defines the structure of your inner kingdom. It reveals whether you are ruled by emotion or guided by strategy. Machiavelli's wisdom was never about cruelty for its own sake. It was about preservation, control, and the subtle art of influence. He understood that human beings are not guided by fairness or morality, but by power and perception. Those who try to live by fairness alone are crushed under the weight of others' agendas. Those who learn to master perception rise above the noise, untouched by petty provocations. Disrespect in its essence is a test of identity. It asks, who are you when the world refuses to recognize your value? Most people answer with emotion. They argue, defend, complain, or seek validation. But the Machiavellian mind answers with silence, improvement, and unshakable calm. It does not argue with disrespect. It outgrows it. It does not chase validation. It becomes the source of it. And that transformation, though quiet, is absolute. Because once you no longer react to disrespect, you have mastered yourself. And self-mastery is the highest form of authority. Machiavelli believed that respect was not earned through kindness or explanation, but through consequence and consistency. People respect what they fear to lose. That doesn't mean you must rule through fear. It means you must cultivate consequence. Every person in your life must know, consciously or unconsciously, that your time, your attention, your energy are valuable currencies, that losing them has a cost. This invisible economy of respect is what Machiavelli built empires on. And you too must learn to do the same in your personal world. Let me leave you with a darker truth, one that only those who have truly studied human nature can accept. You will never be universally respected. No matter how kind, intelligent, or pure your intentions are, there will always be those who seek to diminish you. Not because of what you lack, but because of what you possess. Your calm threatens the chaotic. Your confidence irritates the insecure. Your independence offends the dependent. But Machiavelli would whisper, do not lower your flame to comfort their shadows. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be remembered. True respect is not given. It is crafted. It's the result of 1,000 invisible acts of control. The pause before reacting, the silence after insult, the decision to walk away when your ego demands revenge. It's the discipline to keep your dignity even when you could destroy the other person. Because the ultimate victory is not making them fear you, it's making them irrelevant. Once someone can no longer touch your peace, they've already lost the war. Machiavelli's darkest lesson is this: control perception and you control behavior. When others cannot predict your emotions, they start to respect your mystery. When they cannot provoke you, they start to admire your composure. When they realize they cannot manipulate your attention, they start to value your presence. This is why he warned leaders never to show too much love, too much hate, or too much need, because predictability kills authority. The more stable you are in the storm, the more people unconsciously submit to your gravity. So how do you embody this in your daily life? You move slowly. You speak deliberately. You choose your words like a sculptor chooses his tools. You give access to few and reactions to none. You build your image not from noise but from silence. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. And you make your peace more expensive with every passing day. Because peace, when combined with power, becomes sacred. Remember, Machiavelli never said the world was evil. He said it was predictable. People will always seek advantage. They will always test your limits. That is nature. Your task is not to change the nature of others, but to understand it deeply enough that it can no longer surprise you. That understanding, that calm awareness, is the birth of inner power. Think of every person who has disrespected you. Think of the energy you once wasted trying to prove them wrong, to make them see your worth. Now imagine taking all that energy back and using it to build your empire, your craft, your evolution. That is the Machiavellian transformation. You no longer chase their recognition. You use their disrespect as a mirror, a lesson, a sharpening blade. The insult becomes the iron that forges your will. In the kingdom of perception, your silence is your fortress. Your discipline is your crown. Your composure is your sword. And your dignity, your unwavering ability to remain calm while others lose control, is the throne upon which respect sits. So the next time someone disrespects you, do not react. Smile inwardly. You've seen this pattern before. You know what it is. A test, a measurement, a desperate attempt to pull you into chaos. Do what Machiavelli would. Refuse the invitation. Stay still, stay silent, stay strategic. Let their noise expose them, while your silence elevates you. And when they finally realize they can no longer reach you, when they sense that your peace is beyond their influence, that's when true respect begins. Not out of fear, but out of awe. Because power, when it is quiet, becomes sacred. Write this in the comments if you feel it resonate. My silence commands more than their words. That phrase will remind you that you never have to fight for respect again. You only have to master yourself, your emotions, your timing, your reactions. Once you do, you will never lose to disrespect again, because you will have transcended it. To those still learning this path, understand, the Machiavellian way is not about manipulation, it's about clarity. It's not about crushing others. It's about elevating yourself beyond their reach. It's not about ego, it's about evolution. You are not meant to react to every shadow that crosses your path. You are meant to walk so firmly in your light that shadows scatter on their own. So stand tall, speak less, think deeply, and act only when the world expects you to remain still. Because those who master reaction master reality. And in the words of Machiavelli, though centuries have passed, his whisper still echoes in the minds of those who understand power. Never explain, never justify. Appear calm and let fear do the rest. You are no longer at war with disrespect. You have become its teacher. Now breathe. The game has already changed.